Hello everyone, I'm Silvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to have a look at another VR, which I think is so much fun, and it's called Standout Decks 2022. It's a VR to Peekaboo Rose. Now, originally I thought I would have been able to do only one video combining tarot decks and oracle decks. But then I realized I was feeling bad about the tarot decks or the oracle decks that I was leaving behind because I imposed myself a maximum of 10 decks. And I thought, okay, why not split it in two categories? So this one is tarot decks. And if you stay tuned, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll see that in a few days, I'll also post the Standout Decks 2022 for oracle decks. The first tarot deck we're going to have a look at, and by the way, there's no particular order to them, it's the Phantom Wise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern. I'm sure you've all seen this deck. Erin is the author of The Night Circus, which is a novel. I don't remember, I think it was published a few years ago. If you don't know it yet, check it out because it's a really good book. When I heard that there was going to be a tarot published that was inspired by that novel, I had to put it in pre-order because I really want to check it out. And this is it. So the guidebook is quite nice. It's got the images of the cards with a bit of an explanation. There's an author's note. But there you go. The Phantom Wise Tarot was painted between 2007 and 2010 in an attempt to relearn the tarot after having picked it up and put it down again several times before. I really do appreciate when the author puts an introduction and explains their tarot origin story. It helps me relate to them. It helps me understand what they felt when they decided to produce and create a tarot deck. So it's always appreciated. So this tarot deck is, okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I received it, I had already seen a couple of walkthroughs and I knew what to expect. However, I heard a lot of people, when they received it first, they thought that this cardstock was, they had a different expectations, I put it this way, on the cardstock. And because I had watched those walkthroughs, I had no expectations at all, and I have to say it did not disappoint me. Have a look, feel for yourself. I'm not going to say anything that can influence anyone one way or the other. It's not your typical linen cardstock, linen finish. It is a similar linen finish to other decks that I have in my collection. However, it is I think the difference is in the core, in that I'm not entirely sure that these cards have a core, and therefore that's what makes it slightly different. It is very easy to shuffle. It's a cardstock that, to be honest with you, it's not my favorite. I have plenty of linen cardstocks decks, but I don't know. I wish I could have a look. As you can see, it shuffles quite nicely. So overhand shuffling is quite good. And you can hear the sound. I don't know, it's a swishing sound that some other decks, linen finish, don't have, or it's slightly different. In any case, the mystery of the cardstock, it doesn't matter. What I do like is the fact that it's not a 100% black and white artwork. As you can see, there's a lot of shading work, and it's really well done. It's beautiful. The line work is captivating. It follows the RWS system, so it's very easy to read. It tells a story. You don't necessarily have to have read the Night Circus book in order to understand the cards. It helps, but let me tell you, I did read the book, and to be honest with you, I don't remember whether these characters were actually in the book or not. And I did not have any problem with that. If anything, I feel like I want to read the book again, so there's that. As you can see, it's just really, really beautiful. I appreciate the author explaining how they approached their adventure to tarot, and, you know, going ahead and doing something about it. Look at this card. This death card is so beautiful. Two of Wands. So this was indeed produced in, or at least published in 2022, and that's why it's in this tag. This is the Phantom Wise Tarot by Erin Morgenstern. Another tarot deck from 2022 that has, by the way, just arrived in my collection is the second edition of the Meraki Tarot, and it's by Bouchette Design. So this deck has the most beautiful edging. As you can see, it's like a teal kind of green, which is my favorite color. It goes really well with the backs. It's a big chunky deck. It comes with all sorts of explanation cards, but it also, what I like it's that it comes with a few oracle kind of cards. As you can see, we've got the reclusive, clarity, aspiration, obscurity, expansive, yes, apathy, no, and then, okay, an introduction card and a thank you card from the author. It's got the astrological signs, it's got the solar system association, crystal association for the majors, and then it's got the major arcana association, astrology and elemental. So the Fool, for example, Uranus and air. Major arcana word association, and then the minor arcana word association by suit. And finally, for the 6 oracle cards, not including the yes and the no cards, you've got a bit of an explanation for the cards as well. The cardstock is your rose petal, and unfortunately, yes, it is the one that makes it so that the cards kind of glue together, they stick together. It's not the best thing to fan out. Let me show you, although I've used it a fair bit, so it's actually getting a lot better, as you can see now. But the first time I used it, I just couldn't fan them out properly. I had a few problems overhead shuffling. As you can see, this is it's still a bit clumpy. It's getting better though, because I do use it quite often. But this kind of cardstock, you know, it's here to stay, obviously. It's you see more and more decks with this cardstock, and I do tend to sin in that department. I am a bit of a cardstock fanatic, so I do tend to look at the production of a deck. Sometimes it's also a deal breaker if I know that it's the kind of rose petal that doesn't fan out, that it's difficult to overhand shuffle, that it might I might think twice before purchasing. But this deck is just so gorgeous, it's so beautiful. I'm sure you've seen it. If you have the first edition, you'll remember that it's got, the first edition came with a bit of border and a black one. I think I remember it was black. When I heard that there was a Kickstarter campaign for this deck to be reprinted without borders, I was very happy about it, because I think there were a lot of people, you know, saying that they would have loved it borderless, and Bouchette Design has listened to our requests, and they've come out with this. The artwork is beautiful. In some cards, for example, you can see how there's some kind of intentional blurring, softening of the images because of it contributes to the gentleness of the artwork, in my opinion. Oh, look at this Nine of Pentacles. This fox is so beautiful. It feels like she's achieved, you know, whatever she was set in her mind to achieve, and now she's just so content. You can see that she's got a little head tilted up, probably, you know, in the wind. It's just so nice. I do have a few animal decks, so I was really wondering whether I would have needed another one or not, but I really appreciate it. The colors are just unique. Some of my animal decks have minimal color palettes, if not, you know, black and white. This one feels slightly different. And then, you know, oh, the Eight of Swords, for example, I know that there's a lot of decks that use the A spider for the Eight of Swords, so the symbology is not new. But it's just so beautiful. The Devil is beautiful. Such a really gorgeous card. So anyway, this deck is the Meraki Tarot. This is the second edition by Bouchette Design. This deck is the Sorceress Tarot by Julie Whiteledge. If I remember, I'll just link the walkthrough that I filmed of this deck. This was a true surprise for me for 2022. I just love this deck so much. It's a beautiful deck. I reckon it's a very easy reader at all levels. For those of you who don't need a beginner's deck but enjoy the symbology, this deck feels modern, feels contemporary. The association of the symbols is very much RWS. It's very easy to read and to follow. However, it's got this contemporary take on it, in which we are reminded of our own lives. For example, this Devil card, we only feel good whenever we have a good Wi-Fi reception. We depend on how good the Wi-Fi reception is. It's clever, it's deep, it makes you think. There is a guidebook, but you don't necessarily need it. See the Seven of Swords, for example, a hacker. And I really appreciate the author's effort behind the deck. It's a collage kind of deck. Now, as you can see, the figures are grayed out, and the reason why that is because the author didn't want us to have any receive from her any preconceived direction on how to read the cards. There is plenty of possibility in the absence of color. It calls for our own interpretation to color the figures themselves. such a beautiful, one of my favorite Queen of Swords, by the way. She's just, you know, on her own, doing her own thing. It looks like she's had enough of all the BS and now she's just in a tree pose, which is, if you know yoga, you know that it needs a lot of balance to do this pose. It's not the easiest one. I don't have a really good sense of balance, so this tree pose for me is always a challenge. But the only way to achieve that, and I think that that's an excellent representation of the Queen of Swords, is that you really need to still your mind in order to be able not to fall. And that's the Queen of Swords in a nutshell for me. The colors are amazing, but I really do invite you to have a look at the walkthrough if you have some time. It's just really a versatile deck, really beautiful. So this is the Slavic Tarot by Julie Whiteledge. The next tarot deck is the Slavic Legends Tarot, and it's by Taroteka Studio. This deck, I think I ordered it whenever it was possible to pre-order it. I just did, and the reason why is because I just love my Dark Mansion Tarot, which comes from the same publishing house. It's now there were a couple of versions available. I really did not want the rose petal finish one, so I opted for the semi-gloss one. I don't know, guys. I'm not saying that I regret my choice, because at least this one fans out like a charm, and it always hand shuffles really well. You know, refill shuffle and bridge shuffle are not a problem, but that wasn't a problem with the rose petal either. But the colors, I believe the colors are really vibrant because of this semi-gloss finish. However, yes, of course, it does catch the light, so as you can easily see. The artwork in this deck is just amazing. It's full of details, as you would expect. If you have the Dark Mansion, you know, you'll recognize the style. The line work is very busy, I would say, but I mean, look at this card, for example. But it's just amazing. I absolutely love it. Now, the one thing that everyone is saying about this deck, and I concur, is that, well, there's no guidebook. And there's not even a PDF file. And it's such a pity because these are Slavic legends. And, you know, it would have been... Oh, sorry, this one is the next deck. It would have been fantastic to just know about these legends, the legends behind the cards, and the choice. Why did they choose? Well, I get it, obviously dragons, because the suit of wands is the suit of fire, absolutely. But I'm pretty sure that this Nine of Swords, for example, has a bit of a legend behind this character, and I would have loved to know what that is. So on the one hand, while is, well, at least we know because we recognize that this is Baba Yaga. But having, you know, having that confirmation in the book, in a booklet, that would have been really good. So, I don't know, I heard rumors that they were going to send a link with a PDF, or they're working on a PDF, and I really hope that they are. It's just, you know, tarot, this is probably one of my favorite Three of Swords. Sorry about the light, I'll try, there you go. The reason why I love the Three of Swords, even though it's not my preferred interpretation of the Three of Swords, since I read numerologically, for me, the suit of the swords is the suit of the mind. Therefore, the Three of Swords is the growth into the suit of the mind. It's the overthinking, not the heartbreak. Although, obviously, overthinking can lead to a heartbreak. But I just love this interpretation. It's so beautiful. And of course, I lost my train of thought. But in any case, I think I was complaining about the fact that there's no guidebook. So, you know, we really hope tarot collectors and tarot readers, we read the book, the guidebook as well. And knowing this is what broadens our horizons. This is what makes a difference between one deck and the other. The intention behind the deck, the choice of these cards, why choosing this person, for example, for the Five of Swords. What's his story? What happened here? Yeah, we can imagine, we can probably, you know, even the Ten of Swords, we can probably imagine that, but this is the same figure that we saw in the Nine of Swords, and now I'm really curious as to know what it is. You know, to be continued. Maybe they will come out with a guidebook. I hope they will soon. This is the Slavic Legends Tarot by Botanica Studio. This next deck was even more of a surprise than I thought. Now, when I saw it, it was on sale. It's published by Rockpool, and I went to the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival in Sydney, and this one was on sale for an excellent price. I don't remember how much it was, but I bought a bunch of decks, and this one was one of them. And I thought, it feels very similar to other decks that I already have, especially the Serpent Fire it gave me, and the Muse Tarot as well. And it gave me the same kind of vibe at first, but I bought it anyway because, well, you know, I mean, I always like to see new decks, right? And then I had a look at the guidebook, and I was really surprised. It's really good, really well made guidebook, you know, even for the minors. You got, okay, you got the image of the card, you got the name, you got a bit of a message, a walk towards truth. You've got the direction, legend, light, shadow, and radiance tip. I mean, you got a page and a half for each and every card, and I think it's fantastic. And this is just a guidebook, you know, well, obviously you do have a bit of an introduction, how to use the deck. Yeah. So the deck itself is, it's got those typical colors of these really sunny kind of decks. It's got that kind of dreamscape, but it's a desert kind of dreamscape. Those burnt oranges and yellows and reds, you know, paired up with hot pink, and sometimes you have the sky, the blue sky, the night sky. It's a digital collage deck. We've seen this type of decks before, right? And yet, this deck made it to the standout decks for 2022 because it reads incredibly well. It's tapping into my intuition. It's a deck that really puts you in touch with your inner self. I have felt like I could do a lot of shadow work with this deck as well. It's the kind of shadow work, though, that is not the confronting one of a darker kind of deck. It's a shadow work that looks deep into myself, and it brings me to acknowledge some issues that have not been resolved, and then, you know, it takes my hand and it brings me back to the surface. I love the artwork. It's just beautiful. I think it was an excellent production. I think it was an excellent deck. You know, that's what we've seen before, the Eight of Cups. It's just beautiful. It's got the, so Rockpool has listened to the demands and the request of the tarot community, And as you can see, this is a matte cardstock. It's pretty good though. It's quite flexible but sturdy. It does have that kind of gold gilding that kind of chips very easily. This one is actually quite good, so I'm not complaining. So this is the Radiant Wilds Tarot by Nat Gersberger. The next deck, I've shown this deck on my channel before. It is from 2022. It's a fantastic deck, which was a really gorgeous standout for this year, and it's a deck that I made my own, in the sense that I've taken the first and the second edition of this deck. So you probably recognize that it's the Badass Tarot 1 and Badass Tarot 2. I have picked the cards that I like best from these two, and I put them together, and now this feels like it's really connected to me. The way this deck reads is amazing. It's irreverent, it's whimsical, it pulls you into the cards. It absolutely is a no BS kind of deck. It tells you things the way they are. There's no filter, that's for sure. I love the artwork, this collage type of artwork, but sometimes some cards will remind you of the 70s, some cards remind me of the set of the 90s, some cards very recent events. I just love it. I use it whenever I want to chuckle, but it's a chuckle that sometimes, you know, is a bit of a bitter kind of chuckle, because maybe it's telling me something that I've been trying not to listen to, and this deck is just reminding me to just do my homework and, you know, and accept whatever it is that it wants to tell me. So this is the Badass Tarot, and it's a combination between the Badass 1 and the Badass 2, and it's by Harley Spencer. This next deck was a really beautiful surprise. It's Le Tarot de la Sorcière et de l'Œuvre de l'Année. It's by Bérengère de Moncy. Now this deck, I know that it's been published in English as well. I think it's called the Sorceress Tarot. I have the French edition because as soon as I saw it, I really wanted it as soon as possible, and so I ordered the French edition that came out first. It's a witchy deck. It's everything you always wanted to have in a witchy deck. It's just really beautiful, a very informative guidebook. Well, this is all in French, obviously, but as I said, it was published just probably a couple of months afterwards. It was published in English as well. And it's readily available. I think the English version is published by Rockpool. I hope I'm not wrong, but in any case, all of these decks, I will put the link in the description box below, so you can check them out yourselves if you want to purchase them. It's very witchy, it's very elemental, as you can see. The symbology is very primordial, it's very natural. It speaks to, you know, the way you or myself, I see my own practice. There's a strong connection to the moon. It is a black and white deck, although, you know, the percentage of black and white varies a lot depending on the cards, which I really appreciate because it gives variety. And it does have splashes of gold, for example, in the elements of the cards, or the constellation in some case. That's so beautiful. There is just one thing that for me personally, it's not the easiest to read the titles. I think the type of font, it's, I don't know, sometimes I have trouble reading it, but it's just me. Or at least I haven't heard anyone complaining about that. And I'm not sure whether in the English edition is actually the same type of font. Maybe it is, maybe not. Check it out. Look at the wheel, such a beautiful card for the wheel. So I really love this deck. I use it for full moon readings because it does have, you see all the crystals, it does have that kind of vibe to it. And it's the Le Tarot de la Sorcière et de la Tarot de l'année. So in English is the, I think it's the Sorceress Tarot by Bérengère de Moncy. This is the Monsoon Tarot. It's a very recent acquisition. It is incredibly beautiful. It is based on Japanese fairy tales, but I remember, I think I talked about this deck when I did the VR of the tarot decks that represent the world I would love to live in, and I was complaining about the fact that there is absolutely almost no information in the booklet, which is such a letdown, because whenever it's a tarot that is based on the choice of the cards is based on legends, especially if it's legends that I don't necessarily know, I would love to know about them. And I really don't understand why you know, the authors, the creators haven't thought about that. Maybe there was no budget for a bigger book, I don't know. But in any case, it would have been fantastic to know about these creatures. Where do they come from? What are they doing? And why are they chosen to represent this specific card? For example, the Four of Water. It looks like it's someone, you know, I can see the element of the water for sure, but it looks like there's train tracks here and a traffic light, and you know, the train going uphill against the sun, and this figure is in bed, I think, just, you know, just looking towards the side. And I can kind of guess, but I will never be able to, because I don't know the legend or the fairy tale behind this, then I will never be able to appreciate it 100%, or my interpretation will never be 100% too aligned, let's say, to the interpretation of the author, of the creator of this deck, simply because I don't know the legends, the fairy tales. And this doesn't stop me from reading, absolutely. I just have to tap into my intuition, which is fine, and I'm happy to do that. But anyway, I think it's an eternal debate, isn't it? It's been said before many times. Beautiful linen cardstock. So this is the Monsoon Tarot. The Symbolic Tarot by Elisa Seitzinger. It's one of my latest deck. It came in my December deck haul. I will do a video just for that because it's been a very busy month, December. Not just because I received tarot decks as gifts for Christmas, but also because some decks arrived that I had ordered maybe months before. This, so the author is the same author as the Tarot de l'Étoile Cachée. And it has been pointed out, I don't have that tarot deck, unfortunately. The price tag is a bit pricey for me, but this tarot deck is absolutely superb. The artwork is very similar. It's beautiful. It's in black and white, but it's got, as you can see, the splashes of gold. This is actually foil. The reason why this is by far probably my #1 standout deck for 2022 is because of the legends that are behind the choice of some of these cards. And you know, we've been talking about the fact that for the Monsoon Tarot, for example, or the Slavic Legends Tarot, there's absolutely no explanation for the cards. This deck does, and I appreciate it so much because, for example, the Five of Pentacles, you know, if you go and look in the guidebook, you'll see the general explanation of the Five of Pentacles, but then at the end of the section where the explanation of the cards is, you'll find there is a section which is called Behind the Scene, and it tells you what the legend is, and it explains you know, the name of these figures is Mamutones. It comes from a legend in Sardinia. These are characters that appear during the Sardinian carnival. You know, these bells are there because they need, whenever they move, they make a lot of noise, and they need to alert the population that they're arriving. And it's amazing. I mean, thank you for that. You know, I love knowing that about that card now. It's you know, it gives me an insight and a deeper insight into the Five of Pentacles. It makes sense to me that they tell you a bit about the cards. I can read an RWS, that's not my problem. But what's the author's interpretation of that card? That's what I want to know. That's what makes a deck different from other decks. I love the fact that it's a cat that leaves. You know, yeah, I've got enough. I'm leaving. So this is, I would say this is such an amazing deck. It probably takes, you know, the top spot for my standout decks in 2022. And it's the Symbolic Soul Tarot by Elisa Seitzinger. This is another standout deck for 2022, and it's the Botanica Tarot. I really love this though. I think it's been picked up mass market. It came with a pin. It came with all these cards, which are cards from the tarot, but they're actually postcards. They can be used as postcards. The booklet. It's not, as you can see, it's a small one, but at least it gives you the information you need, you know. So, for example, Justice, that's the gladiolus. It's got the divinatory meaning, the reverse, and then it gives a bit of an information, ulterior information about the card, which is always nice. But, you know, Roman gladiators were rewarded for their victories with a shower of gladiolus. Well, there you go. I had no idea. And I'll, as I said, I'll always be grateful. And coincidentally, this is the Justice card. So I've heard people complaining that it's not very intuitive. But if you know the symbols related to especially the majors, you'll find the main symbol for the majors, you'll find it at the top. I, for one, would not have known that this particular flower could represent the card of Justice. So I really appreciate the guidebook. I really have to go back and forth between the guidebook and the cards. But if I just want to have a quick read, I still can, because as you can see, this is the numeral number, so the 5 of Swords, 6 of Pentacles, and so on. Page of Pentacles. I think that the combination with the black background and these vibrant colors, it's really astounding. I really appreciate it and I like it. It makes this deck pair really beautifully, for example, with any kind of oracle with a black background, like for example the Flower of the Night. They go really well together. It's a gloriously matte cardstock. It has that kind of cardboard kind of feel that I really like. It's a sturdy one. It's got a bit of a different kind of size to it, but I don't mind. It was a standout deck for 2022 for me. because it is just really, really beautiful. It makes me want to dive deep into the meaning of the flowers that I find in these cards, and for my own association with the cards they represent. Such a beautiful deck. It's the Botanica Tarot by Kevin J. Stanton. And as usual, when I'm supposed to stop at 10, I never do. And there's always one additional deck. And this is an honorable mention. It's the Ash and Thorn Tarot by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ullers. I absolutely adore this deck. It's in this tag for standard decks for 2022 because, as odd as it may sound, I acquired this deck only this year. I did not actually got it immediately when it was published last year, and so to me it is a standout deck from 2022. It comes with a few additional cards at the beginning with the meanings of the cards. It's quite simple, but it's an animal deck, as you can see. You all know this deck. It's very easy to read. It's very RWS. The artwork is amazing. I just love, connecting with these. Look at this full card. I love connecting with these animals. Look at the Nine of Wands. There is something to say about these nature-based decks. I, for one, have had enough of people in the last 2-3 years, so I felt called by, animal-based deck or nature-based deck, like this one. Look at the star card. So this deck was a standout because, oh, look at the one. Was a standout because I had very high expectations for it because, everyone was talking about it. And I was a bit afraid that when I got it, I would have been disappointed, because when you set your expectations too high, of course, it's very difficult to meet them. But I was stunned. It's just as beautiful as I thought it would be. It's actually more beautiful. It reads really well. It pairs well with a number of oracle decks that I have, which is always a plus for me. It's an intuitive deck as well as an RWS deck. It's a storyteller kind of deck, which is always a plus, because I am myself a storyteller, so I really like it. So this is the Ash and Thorn Tarot by Stephanie Burrows and Adam Ullers. Now, thank you so much for watching this video. These are the 11 decks that were a standout for me in 2022. As I said at the beginning of the video, I used 2 categories. So this is the tarot decks that were a standout, and my next video will be with this hashtag will be about oracle decks that were a standout for 2022. So if you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. More to come. Have a great day.